all fairness, I'm saying we didn't get that directive.
I get it. And I understand for a lot of people, they say, well, I come, I give you my time, my energy on the phone, I give you meetings, I'm there when we organize. I am merely suggesting, and because this is something I know, and I've been president of several organizations, I've been on the fundraising side of all. It's very difficult to go out there. Some people do it and, oh, we need them. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about each person. And it's not about saying it's $1,000 answered. It's about saying at least $5. Eva, you wanted to say something?
Yes, hello. I agree with everything that you're saying, Sandra, because this year I was, again, voluntold by my manager that I was going to lead the United Way campaign at our location. For those of you that don't know, I work at Jane & Shepherd. A lot of folks were out of work. We already know the toll that COVID has taken. But we were told, even as staff, how much was the suggested. So for junior staff, it was X amount. For senior staff, it was X amount. Those of us that were ambassadoring, I'm still collecting money from, I want to say this was in the spring. And I put X amount on my credit card. I got the receipt, so I'm not going to complain, but I'm still collecting from staff members because in the corporate side of things, they kind of tell you, you're giving X, and then it's your responsibility to go and collect. Of course, I'm not going to make up the shortfall from clients' money because that would be a conflict of interest. But there was some people that, honestly, there was a couple people that have lost their jobs. They're not in the best position. $5, $10. One lady gave a toonie. You know what? It all adds up. The bottom line is that we don't tell them what to give. We just say, United Way is a group that, helps this local community as well. Instead of buying a coffee today, or instead of buying something that, some junk food, just give that money towards this worthy cause. And we were able to make up a good amount. Unfortunately, the staff at TD sometimes are the ones that are working the whole pandemic and they don't want to give $20. So you never know who's going to open up their pocket, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's important. And sometimes the person who least looks like they can is the most generous. But again, this is something you as a board need to have a serious discussion about. If you're going to have a fundraising campaign and a plan, can we have the whole board make a contribution? And no, I don't think anybody should be forced to be told it's $1,000 when that's not the idea. The idea is give what you can and think about it and give a little more. So we talked about that. We talked about corporate donations. And I don't know, it doesn't sound like you all have yet had a planned meeting about how you're going to do fundraising. It can't really be scattershot. So the first part of each person on the board asking 5 people, that's part of, you put down what you plan to raise from that. So if Sonia is leading that, Sonia would talk to each board member and she says, tell me what you think you can bring in. I'm going to ask my 5 people, and that's part. The corporate donations is another huge campaign, and it is a difficult one because corporations have specific ways they give money, and people think, well, TD will give us $100,000 because TD loves what we do. Yes, TD will love what you do, but TD also expects for their money certain things. And so you have to look, I've given you some going online to look what is the criteria. I don't think that's the place you all should start. I think you need to work on your individual part first. So Ansel and Sonia, I see both of you working with Pastor to come with a plan to present to the whole board. I'm curious, Sonia, I'm picking on you a little bit, but you said, oh, Pastor is in charge. Why is it Pastor?
I just tossed it the ball, that's all. We work jointly. To be honest, we work jointly. Okay. What else do you want to ask of me?
No, that was all. I am just pushing a little bit.
No, I just tossed it the ball.
Okay.
But we work jointly.
Perfect. So everybody, again, you have to tell your story. Why are you with Youth Now on Track? What's the reason? What makes it your thing that you are so passionate about it? What's the story? And then you have to be able to have that information ready. So when, Sonia, you call a friend and she goes, okay, let me tell you how most people give, at least in my understand. I have friends, I call them up and I say, I need you to give me some money. They go, they said, you know what, Sandra, just tell me where to send it. They actually don't care what it is because I have asked them. And so they give because it's me who did the ask and they know that I'm going to be giving it. So there are those people. Then there are other people who want every single piece of information. Do you have a tax receipt number? How many people? All that more detailed information. So you need to have the information to send to people when you do the ask. So that was one. We talked about wills and request, planned giving. So that again, when you have your fundraising meeting, is this something you're going to be then asking people to give, have a planned way of giving to your organization? It's not really a lot of work. Everybody should have a will, Eva knows that. Who else is the lawyer on the board? Somebody said they were a lawyer. I was listening. Oh, what Chukuku said, am I pronouncing that right? Said, you know, he's a lawyer. What kind of lawyer, sir?
Nigerian trained lawyer.
Okay. Are you criminal or civil?
Well, corporate. Corporate and commercial.
Okay. Okay. But wills, everybody should have. Most people, a lot of us don't have, but it's a way to ask people, particularly those who are getting to the side where they're reaching the airport, waiting lounge to leave. Hey, have you thought about considering putting our organization in your will? And it requires, you know, you talk to your kids, you can get charitable donation, offset taxes. It requires some finessing to ask it. But the biggest thing, you need a fundraising plan. You really need a plan. I can't stress this enough. How many people now give to your organization, Pastor? Do you have or is it all government grants?
There are a couple of people that I will say, I won't say the number precisely,
right?
But also the board members are giving, because one of the things we did here was during our dinner on 20th of November, which is supposed to come, you know, it didn't come. So all the board members bought the ticket. So we have 10, each at least ever bought like, I think $700 or $800 worth of tickets, same thing to all of them. So those that did not attend bought the ticket. The board chair bought 3 tickets, Sonia bought tickets. So we put it in a way that every board member should buy tickets. So all of them bought the ticket, thereby donating from that angle.
Okay, I want to stop you. I want to stop you there a minute. Okay. I get that you call that a donation. A ticket for an event, 90% of it is expenses. So people say, well, I bought a $70 ticket, but you got a dinner that cost $50 and you had to pay all kind of other things. So in essence, you have given $10. I really want people to understand supporting events is amazing and important, but that is not a donation. Is that sounding okay? Or anybody want to knock back at me about that? Because I bought a ticket, I couldn't come. By the way, I was ill. I was looking forward to it, but I couldn't come. I don't get a tax receipt for that because it covers the meal. So I gave to your event, but it didn't increase. I don't know how your event did. In the end, did you make any money?
Monetary gain? No, we made a good number of attendance.
Right. But at the end, after income and expenses, did you make any money?
No, we had a deficit of 1,000 plus.
There you go. So No, but so that wasn't a fundraiser. I don't know if it was supposed to be a fundraiser. So, okay, I'll come back to that. So it's important that you have a fundraising plan. And your fundraising plan includes your personal ask. What is it you're trying to raise money for? And what is the goal? And how you're going to keep in touch with donors and never thinking anybody is too big or too small a donor. But you need to have it focused. And you need to see the potential of every donor. But I want to talk about event fundraising because a lot of people, a lot of organizations want to do it, event fundraising. And it's nice. You have an event and everybody comes and you go, oh my gosh, didn't we look great? Or our dress look nice? And then you have a deficit. You know why you had a deficit, Pastor? Tell me why you think you had a deficit.
One of the reasons here is that I would say that COVID played a lot of impact in the planning, and the sense that we do have a way of providing food, but this time because of COVID, we are allowed only to use a hotel to provide the food, and then they gave us the food at $55 a plate, so which is too exorbitant. And then $55 a plate actually took most of the money there. So plus the tax, it came down to $63. So the ticket was $70. So we are looking at $7 for each person. And then we did the flyer, the marketing, the magazine for the program. So all this, included in the expenses. So the expense is bigger than the income because we are looking at $7 per anybody.
Which can't do. And here is where you went off. When people are planning an event, the first thing they do, we're going to charge $50. You cannot start with that. You have to start with the budget. You take all your expenses to make sure, and if your expenses come up to $1,000, you cannot charge less than what the expenses are, or you will make no money. You will never make money. So you have to be realistic of what, when you say $55 is exorbitant, Pastor, most times the meal is between 70 and 80, 85, depending on the place. So you have to look at what kind of event you want to have. Maybe you can't have it at that place. Maybe it has to be a different kind of thing. Maybe you could have done it on Zoom this time and not incur the cost of a meal. But until you have done your budget with all your expenses, then you can decide the price of what you're going to charge. And then you have to work how you're going to sell the tickets and what is your break even and how much money you want to earn, how many tickets you need to sell. Because if you don't know all that in advance, at the end, you come out and you go, oh my goodness, we're short. Does that make sense, Candia? I see you. Tell me what you think. Candia. Unmute.
No, I said you are making sense because we've been doing it maybe the old way. So then in the end, we do, if we should make or we don't make, but based on what you are saying, your training, it's like we have to do it different way so we can have an idea, a better idea if we will be making, so we can know if we should go ahead with the project.
Right.
So I say you are making lots of sense.
Okay, Eva, you had a comment.
Yes, I agree with a lot of what, pretty much everything that you're saying. Another idea that we had on the phone calls and even personally with Sonia was we have to find a way to do maybe more cost-effective events. So a lot of people don't want to just give money blindly to a cause, in my experience. People
Absolutely.
want something. It's not really like example, a car wash. A car wash doesn't cost a lot of money to host. It's not going to be very expensive, but the person at the end of the day is going to make a donation, but their car is being washed. A barbecue. It's not really for the hot dog or the hamburger, but the kids get a nice day out. People can be out in the park, or we can find a nice location. It's not going to be as expensive as having, let's say, waiters come to your table. The hotel was beautiful. It was an elegant event, but like Pastor Francis said, it ended up costing so much money that then the money left over, or then there's a deficit. So we just have to come up with more cost-effective events. It's not a question of having, because Zoom events, I'm not going to lie to you, if I have to give money to a Zoom event, I probably am not going to give any money, because I'm not getting anything. I'm looking at a screen, right? So
Eva, can I stop you? Ontario Black History Society last week did their Zoom event. Over 400 people attended. The tickets were, I think, $85 if you didn't want a meal, $150 if you wanted a meal, and the meals were delivered. There are ways to do it. I am not saying, and people I bought a ticket for $85. I didn't even go on, because I'm supporting OBHS. So I hear you. What I think people do, they say, we're going to have a dinner. You're right. Let's talk about what kind of event you want to have. And before you start an event, you should know, absolutely know, how much money you have to bring in for the event to succeed. And so when you are planning and the tickets haven't sold, I've been doing events where a week before, oh my gosh, we're going to be in a deficit. Everybody gets on the phone and sell those tickets. You must never have a deficit, because it means you didn't do the planning. I am not beating up people. I'm just explaining a reality of event fundraising. A lot of folks think, oh, 500 people came, we made lots of money. But if the 500 people who came, what you planned for them was so wonderful and took you over, you made no money. And I've done hundreds of events, I've done big dinners, 1,800 people. The costs keep going every time you look. You have to keep track of the budget. The budget rules everything. You start with the idea and then the budget, but the budget is what have to be the main thing. So you're right, Eva. What other things could your organization do that would fit more the kind of youth you're working for? A car wash should be a great idea, for example. Pastor Francis?
Yes, I think what you're saying is good, and we're working towards addressing it, number one. So the fundraising committee are meeting, and we're discussing on it extensively in the board meeting. So that's number one. Then number two here is you thought about the nature and what the program is all about. So one of the key things here is that we are in a community that is, when you talk about poor people, low immigrants, no immigrants, unemployed, and so on and so forth, is the community that we support. And then two, the concept of our program is to showcase most of the young people that are doing very well in our program and services. And then showcasing them is important to us in order to project them to the next level that they are going to do very well, moving forward. So having said that, why I said that one of the major problems we had was the COVID. It's true that we said the ticket, because most of the young people that do attend the program do not attend the dinner, do not buy the ticket by themselves, because they're unable to afford that. So we depend on the community stakeholders and companies to sponsor the program, because we want to showcase the young people that are doing very well from low-income families. So for the fact that this is always our focus of sponsoring the program, so the COVID affected most of these community stakeholders and companies that rally around to make it happen for these young people. So that's why we are really in deficit here. So the program is always planned, geared towards getting people, like the police 31 division came and it paid for 5 kids to attend. Then the Judiciary office paid for 8 people to attend. And then the MPP donated for the 2 people to attend. So all these things happened because that's the structure this is the way it goes. We get the police to come. We get the MPPs, the MP, the councillor, they all donated to have kids represented. The police officer, they can make me at the door when he was coming, Superintendent Inspector Adam. He said to me, where are the kids the police sponsored? I said to him, the kids are there. So they want me to bring them on the door to welcome you. I don't have problem doing that. So this is the nature of the so this is the nature of
I hear you. But here is the thing. You're going to have an event. You want to have how many kids they can pay. So each kid has to have a sponsor. And it means somebody has got to sell the tickets, and relying only, the board, the MP gives 2. I get why he can only give 2 because he's doing a whole lot of others. The judicial's office do 8. So where are the rest of the people who are going to sponsor the kids that you want to do? The board members have to go and ask their friends or their people that they know, hey, I'm doing this. We need your help to sponsor a kid. And also another thing you may think about, when you ask somebody to sponsor, sometimes you don't ask them for the ticket price. You ask them for the cost price. So at least your costs are paid for. The dinner is paid for, so maybe they can't afford to give you the $100 for, let's say your ticket is $100, but they could give you $50 that covers a meal. So you always have to be thinking how you're going to cover the budget. Budget. It sounds so, but it's really every time, and I see it every time. People come to the meeting. Oh, let's do this. Yeah, let's write it down. What do you want to do? Oh, that would be great. Let's bring this band. Write it down. Then you go, what does it actually cost? Once you get all your costs, then you can then say, what is realistic? What do we need to charge to raise this money unless we have sponsorship? And the committee, the fundraising committee, would have to go out to find sponsorship for your dinner or whatever event. And your sponsorship should really cover your costs. So your ticket sales cover particularly the meal part, and the rest covered by people donating. I know it's a hard one. People seem, let's only charge $50. We live in a neighborhood where people can't pay more than $50. Then if that's the case, who else is going to pay to cover the costs? Does that make sense, Emeka?
Yes.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense, honestly. Because if you try to, I don't know, please, so that people will say, oh, what you did was so, and then at the end of the day, there's the budget, the cost will become more than, so it will be.
And you haven't achieved your goal. Yeah, and it's not to say the kids weren't feeling good, and the person, the MP comes and say how wonderful Youth on Track, all very nice. And then pastor is left with a bill of $1,000 going, oi, how are we going to cover it? And by the way, asking people for money after an event is finished or the thing is finished, very difficult. You got to get them before, get them excited, so that another thing I want to share, when you do events, especially with food, one of the things the hotels are, if you read your contracts carefully, they prepare, if you say 100 meals, they prepare a little percentage over. So read the contract. Sometimes it's 5% or 2%. So they will say, we will always do 110 meals. So what I do when I'm doing that, I only order 90. Sometimes you have to figure out, some people won't show up. So you don't always, if you bought 70, don't tell them, it's a game of making sure you and the budget. I'll give you a little story. One year, as president of BBPA, the person who was doing the Harry Jerome Awards, young woman, took it upon herself to go down to Metro Convention Center and met with them and told them we were going to bring 1,000 people. I don't know if you know how hard it is to bring 1,000 people. And she proceeded to get a contract and sign it without bringing it back to the board. She wasn't supposed to. It happened. I got the contract nicely from them saying we need a deposit for these 1,000 people. I think I turned red, blue, green. I was panicked because she'd signed on our behalf. I happened to be sitting on Metro Convention Board at the time, thank the Lord. So I raced down there to meet with the ED to say, I am begging you to understand this lady shouldn't have signed this. There is no way we're going to have 1,000 people because the meal, if you're doing 1,000, it's less than if you're doing 5. You know how it works. They give you a better price. And I promised him, he said, well, how much are you going to go down by? I said, I want to tell you 450. He was not happy because in their budgeting, they were expecting 1,000 people, the staffing, the this, the that. And I begged him to go to 450. You know how many tickets, how many we actually did? 452. You know the stress to make sure we got the 450? You know the stress, so you have to know who your audience is, how much you can really tell the hotels in advance. The conversation has to be clear so that you're not paying when the hotel says, well, this is what, and we've put aside staff and site, and then you go back with your 2 long hands and say, well, we didn't make it. They don't care. They don't care. That's something you have to budget, budget, budget. What is it you're giving the kids? Are you giving them a plaque? Cost, cost, cost. Are the plaques going to get a donor to cover cost, cost, cost? Budget. Did you hire a singer? Did you hire entertainment? Who is going to pay for that? Cost, cost, cost. Pastor, you had a question.
10 minutes more.
I understand. I am watching my clock as well. Anyway, I hope that I am not making people feel, oh my gosh. So let's go over. You need a fundraising plan for your organization. The fundraising plan, the people on it. And by the way, Pastor, it's not at a board meeting one has all these intricate discussions. It's at a committee meeting. The committee then presents the fundraising plan to the board.
The board.
Yes. But not at the board
and they're working on it.
Yes, not at the board meeting. A lot of people think a board meeting is a place to discuss, oh, what should we wear? That's not a board meeting. That's a committee meeting. So the committee comes back, the fundraising committee, and said, okay, our goal for the next year is we want to raise, you all have to decide looking at your budget how much money you need to raise or whatever it is you need to do. So the goal is, let's say your fundraising goal is 50,000. But why don't you say 100,000? Whatever it is, make it have some heft. You know why you need to raise it and you know what you need it for. How are you going to raise the 50,000? What are the things you're going to do? So is it, we're going to get donors. You divide it into half. 25,000 are going to come from personal ask. Then you divide up your board. How many people on the board divided by the personal ask? Each person has to bring in X number of dollars. And then you put how much is the board members, the total of what, the 25 of, okay, the board's portion of that is going to be 5,000. And then you divide it again. It's always just working the numbers. So then that's the first part. And then we're going to do some events to raise, or we're going to get some corporate, if that is what you want to do. And we're going to have some sponsors. who are the sponsors and how much money are we planning to raise from sponsorship. Once you have the numbers, and then you come back and how much money are we going to raise from events? And events is after all expenses, what you make. You add up those numbers. This is how we're going to come to do this. Once that's done, then you come up with how to do each part. What is the ask going to be for each person? How you're going to do that? What is the event? Like Eva says, maybe the event is something that doesn't have a lot of costs. So that is, you see, wow, we could raise that 2,500 or 5,000 easier here. You put down car wash. Then you break down all your events with your budget, the budget rules. And then you come to the board and you say, ladies and gentlemen, this is our fundraising plan. And then you all discuss, is it make sense? Do you think you can do it? And I truly believe you can. There are people out there who want to give, you have to ask. And events just mean never ever spend what you don't have. You just can't spend what you don't have. Anybody, Sonia, have any questions?
No, none of this time.
Thank
Not
you.
at this time.
Mr. Sandra, it's like you have a question on the chat, right?
Yeah, where did I put it? Which one? No, I said start with the idea, the budget rules. You cannot set a ticket price until you know all the costs. You must see potential in every donor. And the most important thing, you must have fun, because you can't be giving all your time and energy and going to bed. I'm sure Pastor Francis goes to bed worrying about $1,000. Where is he going to get the money now to get that back? You don't want to be doing that. You don't want to be doing that. You're going to bed going, ooh, who else can I ask today? And I will share this with you. This past couple of weeks, I'm assisting a woman who is running for office. And, you know, she had all kinds of ideas. I said, you know what you need to do? You need to make 5 calls every day. You personally pick up the phone and make 5 calls. And she goes, well, I call people. I said, do you ask them for the money? Well, she said, I just feel, I said, until you say, hi, Candia, it's Sandra. How are you? I'm running for office. I need your support. And I need to know how much money you could give me after you tell her why she should support you. And Candia will say, you know what? I can give you 100. I can give you 250. And if you know it's somebody who can give more, and she has been changing her. When she phoned me last night, out of all the people she called, only 5 didn't give her an answer. She was feeling bouncy. And Sonia has called her people and got money. So I know all of you have a friend or know somebody who can assist with this amazing project. So that's my little thing today. You can do it. You can do it, people.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. It's always the same. You're always the same. Thank you so much. So exciting, so good, and so, you know, so there are so many to take home here from, you know, starting from the board. I think we're on the right track, trying to put what you told us in practice, because that's the only way that we can produce results. When it's done the way it should be done, so we produce results. So again, I do appreciate this, and I believe strongly that we put it to practice, and that's the only thing that can help us. I don't know if I cut myself off. Am I off?
No, Pastor Francis, I wanted to answer. Bridget asked, how do you do a virtual event with dinner? Well, my dear, people have now moved to it. So they hire a chef, and the chef is told how many people are expecting dinner. They divide up the area of the city, and they know how many people in Scarborough, how many people, and they get the food delivered in time for the event to start. So people are sitting, having their meal, with their event. And it's been working really well. It's a lot of work, but yeah, it can be done. I'm not so sure that that's necessarily the way you would want to go, but it can happen.
Even drink wine. That is great.
Yes, yes. Everything and nobody else. So nobody else has any questions? I am going to offer something if you want, Sonia. And the reason I'm picking on Sonia, I know she's getting mad. I can see her getting mad.
No, I'm not getting mad. I'm not getting mad. I'm not getting mad.
All right.
This is a learning experience.
No, I will offer, if you call me when you're planning an event, I will offer to go through it to help you with the budgeting of it, if you would like.
Thank you very much. I'll call you.
Okay, perfect. All right. So thank you all for having me, and I hope you have a very productive day. And I really congratulate Pastor Francis for seeing that this thing needs, and he has the support of an amazing bunch of people. This is really awesome. Thank you so very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you. To be candid, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Sandra.
No problem. Okay.
Thank you. I think you touched the area we are working on right now, and I think it will be of great help to do that. I mean, to work well in that area. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you. We'll talk to
you. Walk good, Sandra.
Walk good.
So, do we have Miss Ona here?
Miss who?
Ona Fletchers. Because I can't see my screen. I don't know what happened to my screen. Is Miss Ona there, please?
Una is not here.
Ona is not on.
Yeah, I'm just trying to call her. We're waiting for you.
I'm waiting for you to log in.
Okay, Dawn. Is Dawn there? Okay, let me call her. It's Dawn there. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you.
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Don is muted. I don't know whether he's there.
Can somebody test him from there, please? Can somebody text him from there, please, for me, to let somebody in?
I've texted him.
Hi, Don. Can you let Una in, please? You do something, I kept us here. Everybody's waiting. Come on.
And he can make somebody else co-host so that if he's not around.
Is Anna in now?
Yes.
She's logging in now.
She's logging in.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Okay, so thank you, Anna, for coming. Thank you for that little 4 minutes disruption or wherever there. So thank you for your time. As we know now, we know her in the community very well. Been one of the key supporters of YNOT on trust services over the years. A community leader, community accountant, and so on and so forth. A very nice and passionate human being. So Una is helping us today. Una, for your information, we have all the board members here, and also we have our staff here. So as a youth organization, most of our staff are young people, and these are the future generation. These are the future board members. And also most of the training is geared towards helping us to work in effectively with the board too, supporting the community. And I know you're a good instrument for this. So guys, help me, join me to welcome Miss Ann Fletcher.
Hey. Thank you very much for the invite. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here this morning to talk to you about the responsibilities of a board member on a non-for-profit organization. This is one of the positions sometimes that we actually take for granted because we're giving up, people take for granted. We're giving up for time, we're giving up for energy, we're giving up for effort. We're leaving our families to work for the better good of the community. It is such a noble position. So this morning, I know I have a time schedule. I think Mr. Uber has given me 1 hour to present. So we're going to have an interactive training this morning. How many persons do we have here, Mr. Uber? Let's check to see how many persons we have. Oh, we have 22 persons. Awesome. All right, so we're going to start off this morning. Just a second. I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, so this morning we are going to talk about the roles and responsibilities of being a board member on a non-for-profit organization. So my name is Ann Fletcher, and I've been working in the community for many years. I've registered a number of non-for-profit organizations and for-profit organizations. I've registered a number of charities. I am also an accountant by profession, so I do accounting for a number of non-for-profit organizations. Also, I worked at Revenue Canada for over 6 years. I was in an auditing position as well. So this morning, I am going to share my experience with you along with information about how to become an effective director on a board. So we are going to, first of all, some of the things that we're going to cover this morning. What does it really mean to be a director? We're going to look at the fundamental responsibility of the board. We're going to zero down to the top 3 responsibilities. We're going to look at putting fundraising front and center of the organization. We're going to look at job description. We're also going to look at responsibilities of the board. We're going to look at retain and retain, and recruit and retain. And also at the end, we're going to do some concluding thoughts, and you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. I'll move to the next slide. Am I happy to be a board member? And I want everybody to ask themselves that this morning. And after we have gone through this, we're going to go back. To be a board member, you must have a passion for the organization's mission. And let me ask you this morning, who knows the organization mission? Can somebody tell me what is the mission of Youth Now on Track? Go, Mr. Hooper. Go ahead.
No, good question. Good question.
Okay, we must be persistent. Okay, I was on the website trying to find the mission, but unfortunately didn't see it. So that's something that we're going to revisit later. As a director of a non-for-profit organization, you are a servant leader. And another thing, you must have fundraising skills. And we're going to look at, one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, what is the difference between a non-for-profit and a for-profit organization? And I am sure as directors, sometimes we take for granted thinking that they're the same, but there is a vast difference. And let us explore the difference this morning. So a non-for-profit organization, also known as a non-business entity or non-for-profit organization or a non-profit institution, is a legal entity organized and operated for a collective public or social benefit, in contrast with for-profit entity that operates as a business aiming to generate profit for its owner. Are we good? Board members are fiduciaries who steer the organization's sustainable future by adopting sound ethical and legal governance and financial management policies, as well as by making, just a second here, please. Making sure the non-for-profit has adequate resources to advance its mission. Move to the next slide. Now we're going to look at 7 functional responsibility of a non-for-profit board. So we're going to divide the responsibilities into 2. So we have functional responsibilities and we have core responsibilities. But first of all, let's take a look at the functional responsibilities. The first one is to help the organization on mission. That means as your role, you are going to advocate, you are going to assist the organization in meeting its mission. The second role is to approve the selection, provide oversight and support for the executive director or the CEO. Next, functional responsibility, your meeting attendance. It is imperative that you go to as many meetings as you possibly can, if not all. Committee work, finance, providing financial support. Sometimes we take for granted that because we're a director on a non-for-profit board, we're not supposed to provide finance, but yes, we do provide financial support. It does not have to be monetary in nature. Later on, we'll discuss how you can provide financial support to your organization. Advocate in the community. That is one of your key roles as a board member of a nonprofit board. Now we're going to move further to look at the top 3 responsibilities. These are the core responsibility of any board member of a non-for-profit board. Non-for-profit boards have legal responsibility to meet the duty of care, the duty of loyalty, and the duty of obedience. Under well-established principles of non-for-profit corporation law, a board member must meet certain standards of conduct and attention in carrying out their responsibilities to the organization. Are we clear? Do we have any questions so far? Are we clear? Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. No questions so far.
No questions. We're good. Fiduciary duties. So we're going to move further and look at the fiduciary responsibility of a board director. And then fiduciary duties require board members to stay objective, unselfish, responsible, honest, trustworthy, and efficient. Board members are stalwarts of public trust, must always act for the good of the organization rather than the benefit of themselves. Okay, so now we are going to look at how to apply stringent standard in searching for board members. We are going to look for organization that brings a variety of skills, experience, and diversity to your organization. We're going to look for individuals that have backgrounds and contacts that differs but complement those of other directors. This diversity is vital to maintaining a balanced board composition. Having concern for your organization development are willing to learn about the substantive programs area of your organization. They must be prepared to set aside any potential conflict between their personal or individual business interests to support the well-being of the organization. The persons you choose must have a developed sense of value and personal integrity. They must be sensitive to and tolerant of views and opinions. They must be sensitive to and tolerant of views and opinions differ from their own. That's very important in choosing a board member, because sometimes, especially in board meetings, it's very hard to get any agenda or get anything passed or going because persons are not tolerant of other person's view. They must be friendly, responsive, and patient, and have a sense of humor. They must work well with individuals and group. They should be able to listen, analyze, and think clearly and creatively. They're not hesitant to ask questions. They're willing to prepare for and attend board meeting and committee meetings. They will take responsibility and follow through on assignments. They are willing to contribute personal and financial resources to the organization and to cultivate and solicit outside funds. They also have the ability to open doors in the community. They can recruit board members and other volunteers. They're willing to develop skills that are necessary in order to be effective. They are willing to develop skills they need in order to be effective board members. So those are some of the key things that you're looking for when you are choosing a board member. So further on, we are now going to look at individual board members. A board consists of board members, and board members can sometimes act as officers. So, but let's look at the individual board members, and then we're going to look at the different offices that these board members can hold. Within a larger framework of board responsibilities, the individual board members you have chosen must each fill certain obligations to the organization. These obligations include attend all board and committee meetings and functions and be prepared to participate. Board members must stay informed about board and committee matters, review and comment on minutes and reports, stay informed about the organization's missions, services, policies, and programs, keep up to date on developments in the organization's field, follow development in the community, economy. Pardon me? You have a question there, Mr. Huber?
No, my question will come later on. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Stay informed about the organization mission, services, policies, and programs. Keep up to date on development in the organization's field. Follow development in the community, economy, government, etc., that may affect your organization. Besides being a member of the board, several of your board members will be asked to take on additional responsibilities as office holders and or committee members. And here are some of the responsibilities with specific board positions. And one of the first one we will look at is your board chair and what your board chair does. So the chair serves as the chief volunteer of the organization. It is a partner with the chief executive in achieving the organization's mission. It provides leadership to the board. Chairs meeting of the board after developing the agenda of the with the chief executive. The chair encourages the board role in strategic planning, appoints committee chairs in consultation with other board members, serve as ex officio as a member of committees and attend their meetings when invited. Discuss with the chief executive issues of concern to the board or the organization. Help guide and mediate board action with respect to organization priorities and governance. And then we have some organizations have a board chair. This is recommended. And why this is recommended? Because this person is typically a successor to the chair. This person reports to the chair. This person performs chair's responsibility when the chair cannot be available. This person works closely with the chair and other staff. This person participates closely with the chair to develop and implement office transition plans. We're going to now look at the secretary. This person maintains records of the board and ensure effective management of organization records. And later on, we're going to look at some of the functions of this position and why it is key to your organization. This person manages minutes of board meetings. This person ensures minutes are distributed to members shortly after each meeting. And this is advisable so that you keep in line with the Charities Act. And I will explain to that, and I'll explain that further. It is sufficiently similar with legal documents, is sufficiently familiar with legal documents, example, articles, bylaws, CRA letters, and that is just to name a few. So the secretary must be familiar with the bylaw, the governing bylaws of the corporation, of the non-for-profit, also must be familiar with the Charities Act. We're now going to look at the treasurer and what this means. This is the individual that manages the finances of the organization, administrate fiscal matters of the organization. This person provides the annual budget to the board for approval. This person ensures development and board review of financial policies and procedures. So those are usually the core position, the 4 core positions in a non-for-profit organization. But later on, you can break down into committees, you can break down into offices, but we will explore that at depth later. We're now going to take a look at the ladder of authority in your non-for-profit organization. So the bylaw governs your organization. The members are core persons in your organization. Every organization must have policies that dictates how the organization functions or how each office functions. Then we have the board, which is yourselves. The board now put together procedures. What are the procedures for certain function in the organization? And then we have the staff. So that is the ladder of operation in your non-for-profit organization. Do we have any questions so far? Are we good?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
No, I have a little question, Ms. Ann. If you can throw a little light on what you mean by procedures, just like giving some little examples of procedures.
Sure, most definitely.
Based on your experience.
Absolutely. So every non-for-profit organization, just like for-profit business, must have policies and procedures that governs everything that the organization does. So you can have procedures like hiring procedures. Who are you looking for? You can also have office procedure. What do you expect staff A to do once they start working for Youth Now and Track organization? How policies and procedures. So how is recruiting, how do we recruit new members to this organization? That can be a procedure, just to make sure that we are in line with the government, with our bylaws and our policies. You can also have a financial procedure in your organization. If we're going to get a loan from the bank, who goes? You know, who do we speak to first? Those are procedures that is important that you have within your organization. You can also have procedures as to, you know, slip and fall in your organization. If somebody falls in your organization, who is the go-to person? What do we do in this instance? Now we have COVID-19. What are your COVID procedures in your organization? If one of your staff comes down with COVID-19, what do you do? If, for example, you have an irate customer that, member that walks into your organization and is being disruptive, what are the procedures? How do you function? How do you deal with these individuals? So it's in order to mitigate risk, it is always important that you have procedures in your organization and ensure that every one of your staff members are aware of it. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. Okay, so now we are going to move on to financial responsibility for non-for-profit board. What is stated in corporate legislation and other legislation and regulation. So what that means is the Charities Act determines your financial responsibilities. What is stated, your bylaw should also be in sync with the Charities Act. That is also one of the bylaw dictates how every person that works for the organization or every office function. Everything else in your bylaw is optional, but your act dictates, the Non-for-Profit Act dictates how you run the organization. It governs the processes of the organization, and your bylaw sets out the terms of rule and your governance for the organization. Who is responsible? So we're going to move and look at responsibilities. So who is responsible? The board of directors are ultimately responsible for the proper and effective functioning of your non-for-profit organization. Individuals voting for financial policies and the budget, collectively, fiduciary responsibility, and the last one, the board may delegate authority for some financial management duties to senior staff, financial committee, or treasurer. So as I said before, we are going to look now at the four traditional roles. We're going to look at them in a little bit more detail. Before I get into that, if I walk into your office this morning and all the board of directors are there, and you ask me for $1 million, and I in turn bring you 4 million paper clips, what would your thoughts be? Would I be wrong? Do you think I'm cheap? Do I still have you? Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
We're all here.
What would your thoughts be? I walked into your office this morning and all the board members are there, and you asked me for asked me to donate $1 million. And I bring 3 million paper clips to you. What would be your thoughts?
Answer this question.
Okay.
It's unreasonable. That's not what we asked for.
Why?
We asked for a monetary donation.
Oh, there you go. The key word there is monetary donation. You asked me for $1 million that could have been in cash or kind. So I am giving you 3 million paper clips, which is the value of $1 million. I am not wrong.
No, you're not, because we're not specific in what we wanted from in the first place.
Absolutely. So you need to specifically say what you mean. You're asking me for a monetary donation of $1 million. Okay, but we're going to learn about all these different, terms that we use as board members. So one of the 4 traditional office roles, officer is a whole staple of corporate law. In non-for-profit contexts, they oversee financial management and report to the board and members and the financial status of the organization. Treasurer should report on the current financial position of the charity to each board meeting. At each board meeting, I apologize. And this should be recorded in the minutes. Why we say that? Treasurers should report on the current financial position of the charity at each board meeting, and this should be recorded in the minutes. At the end of the day, board members and staff, it's your minutes that will vindicate you in the event that there is concerns about your organization. Everything that is discussed in a meeting should be documented or should be recorded. Your financial report should be entered into the minutes at all costs. The report should include an update on funds received and spent since the last report. If the treasurer is unable to attend a committee meeting, a written report should be sent to the chair at least once or 2 days before the meeting. All financial decisions taken should be recorded in the minutes of the meeting. The treasurer and designated staff need to discuss procedures for the day-to-day accounting and financial practices to ensure clarity about their roles, responsibilities, and communication practices. As an officer of the board, the treasurer has a designated role in overseeing the financial matters of the board and ensuring other directors are adequately informed of financial related issues to ensure good decision making. Financial decisions, financial duties. We continue. Let me suggest two good and very practical ideas to you today. First, consider providing a board orientation once a year. That is absolutely essential because all board members will know what their roles and responsibilities are. Where the entire meeting is devoted to an outsider explaining and discussing with the board the full extent of its legal and physical duties. Also consider drafting and distributing a job description. Sometimes we take that for granted, but that helps to mitigate a lot of confusion in our processes, not only for your employees, but also for your board members. Put in writing what you expect of the board, including the legal protection they must offer. Another thing to do is to match board members to your organization needs. Your board can be an excellent source of pro bono expertise in areas that you need to understand, but can't afford professional help. For example, your board should have skills in finance, public relations, legal and human resources, or pragmatic areas such as social services, education, religion, etc. When I looked at the board of directors of Youth Now on Track, I am very impressed because I realized that all the board members combined has all these skills. So that is awesome. Very rare you find boards that encompasses all these skills and all these traits. So that means Youth Now on Track is going places. Another thing as members, another thing as board members, we need to put fundraising front and center. I know the erudite speaker this morning, Sandra, spoke about fundraising. And as we know, that is one of the core areas of our non-for-profit organization. That fundraising was one of the things that dictates the longevity of our organization. Some non-for-profits are reluctant to mention fundraising to their board members. Yet helping to raise funds has everything to do with making sure that the charity remain financially sound. Finances are not just about overseeing the budget. It is also understanding how the organization is funded, how fundraising works, and participating in that fundraising. Very important as board members that we get involved. Consider the fundraising potential of every board member. That doesn't mean that every board member should be wealthy. However, they're expected to set an example by donating to the organization or soliciting other contribution. Every board member should participate in giving the way they can afford. Keep board members active. Remember, no one gets an easy pass. Just showing up for board meeting is simply not enough. Board members should be comfortable with this fundraising. The most successful non-for-profit organizations have active and engaged boards. They give personal gifts and they participate in fundraising campaigns. So when we recruit and train board members, you should make their fundraising duties clear. Not everyone wants to call personally on donors, but they can do something else. Make a list of ways to help with fundraising, such as writing thank you or calling donors to say thanks. Board members should be able to identify potential major donors and make an introduction. Suggest that board members solicit items from business for your annual auction or help organize fundraising event. So not everybody has to go out there and ask directly for money, but everybody should take part in the fundraising activities of your organization. So we're gonna now look at some fun checklists. So engage only in allowable activities. So as directors, we need to engage only in an allowable activity. And what that means is the Charity Acts dictate what activities we should be involved in. And our bylaws should dictate how we get involved in these different activities. A registered charity is allowed to carry out its charitable purpose both inside and outside Canada in only two ways: by carrying on its own charitable activities and by gifting to qualified recipients. A registered charity must maintain direction and control over its activities, whether carried out by the charity or by an agent or contractor on its behalf, and must not engage in activities that directly or indirectly support or oppose a political party or candidate for public office or unrelated business activities. Do we get that? A charity must keep adequate books and records. A registered charity must keep adequate books and records for the prescribed time period at an address in Canada that is on file with the Canada Revenue Agency. A charity must issue complete and accurate donation receipts. A registered charity may only issue official receipts for donation that legally qualifies as gift. An official receipt must contain all the information specified in Section 3501 of the Income Tax Act. Later on, I could send you a copy of that. I'm sure you already have one. A charity must file annual T3010 information return, and that is the information tax return. A registered charity must file an annual T3010 information return together with financial statements and required attachment, no later than 6 months after the end of the charity's fiscal period. Checklist, we continue. The charities must maintain the charity status as a legal entity. A registered charity that is constituted federally, provincially, or territorially must meet other specific. And that means that there's different federal acts that guides your organization. There might be provincial ones and there might be territorial ones. So it's very important that we keep abreast of all these different changes in the Act. In addition to the requirement of CRA, in order to maintain its status as a legal entity, as you know that we can also lose our Charities Act, we can also lose our charity registration if we're not in compliance with all the Charities Act or CRA requirements. This may include annual filing. If you fail to file on time, you could also lose your charitable status. A registered charity should check with the relevant authority to verify these additional requirements. Number 6, inform the charity's directorate of any changes to the charity's mode of operation or legal structure. This is important because it's important that the charity's directorate knows where we are at all times, know where our office is, know who are the board of directors, whether they leave or whether we have new ones. A registered charity should get confirmation from the charity's directorate before changing its stated objects and or activities to make sure they qualify as charitable. And what this actually means is from time to time, your mission might change. And if your mission changes, your object clause may change. And if your object clause changes, there's nothing wrong with changing it, but the Charities Directorate must first be informed to ensure that it is in line with your charitable status. A registered charity should inform the Directorate if it changed its name, telephone number, address, contact person, or governing document, which is the constitution, letter of patent, etc., and must obtain prior approval from the Directorate before changing its fiscal year end. Are we good? Do we have any questions so far, or we want to wait until question and answers?
Keep going. We are good.
No, I have one small question before you go too far.
Sure, go right ahead.
Yeah, the question is on that T3 something you said. Yeah. So what you said for tax purposes, what will contain in that form? Is it the people, the organization give a tax receipt, or the receipt of what the organization received from people?
Okay, so that's a good question. So that is your information return. So the information return consists of all the financial activities of your organization. So information from your income statement and your balance sheet, sometimes your cash flow statement as well, and the names of the directors. Revenue Canada needs to know who they are, need to have their date of birth, and need to have their addresses. So that's what your information return is.
Okay, thank you.
You're most welcome. So we are going to move further to look at key roles of the board. So we cover a wide range of roles and responsibility, but we're going to spend some time now to zero in on key roles. So the board of directors of an incorporated non-for-profit organization is legally responsible for the governance of the organization. Within that mandate is the expectation that the board will develop, implement, and monitor policies that will allow the organization to carry out its work. A board is elected by and accountable to its membership. While a board may appoint staff and other committee to carry out specific work related to its policies, programs, and services, the board is ultimately responsible for meeting the organizational outcome. There are limitless resources available that define key roles and responsibility for boards. So when you get some time, you can look that up. Collectively, however, the board must determine a governance model and ensure that appropriate organization policies and procedures are in place. Board must participate in the development of a mission and strategic plan for the organization. Board hires and ensure that an effective senior management team is in place. So usually the board hires the executive director of your organization. The board maintains effective partnership and communication with the community, the organization's members, and its stakeholders. The board maintains fiscal responsibility, including raising income, managing income, and approving and monitoring annual budgets. The board ensures transparency in all communication to members, stakeholders, and the public. The board evaluates the organization work in relation to strategic plans. The board evaluates the work of the board of directors, ensuring continuous renewal of the board and plan for the succession and the diversity of the board. Individually, each board member must act in the best interest of the organization. Understand the roles and responsibility of being a board member. A board member must be familiar with the organization's bylaws, policies, and procedures strategic plans, mission, etc. Board members must ensure he or she avoids conflict of interest, including operating in the best interest of the organization, not in self-interest or in the interest of a stakeholder group. The board must respect confidentiality policies that pertain to membership and board discussions. The board members must keep informed about the organization, financial activities, and legal obligation. Board members must bring his or her own skills, experience, and knowledge to the organization. Board members must attend board meetings regularly and arrive prepared for meetings. Board members must support the board decisions once they have been voted on. Ideally, when joining a board, or perhaps before deciding to join one should learn the governance structure the organization operates under. Roles, responsibilities, functions. Just a second, Roles, responsibilities, function, structures. Ideally, when joining a board, as I said, you must know the roles and responsibilities. It's important also to know your job description, the job description of a board member. I am taking the position of the treasurer. What is my expectation? While the level and detail may vary from one board to board, overall effective board members are continuously governing, recruiting, planning, leading, supporting. Different activities of organization, role responsibilities and responsibility based on 3 different activities of the organization. So let's look at the 3 basic activities of any organization. So governance, and we ask what that is. The board develop policies that give overall direction to the agencies. Management. The board take actions and make decisions to ensure that there are sufficient and appropriate human and financial resources for the organization to accomplish its work. Operations. These are the activities related to the delivery of services or programs of the organization. The degree to which this occurs depends on the board governance structures. So your governance structure directs how you manage your organization. Board member job descriptions. We spoke about this early on. Clearly written job description can help board members understand and agree to the role they're expected to play in your organization. The chairperson, we covered that, chair board meeting. The secretary takes accurate minutes. The treasurer accounts for and reports on the fund, budgets and expenditure. We are going to now take a look at.
You have 10 minutes more.
Okay, we have 10 minutes more. Okay, board member agreement. I'm almost done. So board members agreement, confidentiality and or privacy agreement. Board members asked to respect confidentiality of information gained as a result of serving on a board, such as client information, personal membership. Conflict of interest requires a board member to declare if he or she has personal interest. Code of conduct. Board may develop code of conduct that may cover everything from communication to protocol. Competition, this applies more to individuals who in their working life may be involved in the same line of business as the organization for which they are also board members. So it's important that you disclose that. Bylaws, every organization should have its own bylaw. An organization that is not incorporated may refer to its governing document as a constitution rather than bylaw. A constitution provides an overview of the organization purpose, mission, and objectives. The board and risk management. So I'm just going to touch on this quickly. So let's not take for granted that there's risk involved in being a board member. Along with the roles and responsibility of board comes risk and liability. When an organization is governed by hands-on working board or a policy-driven board, board members need to be aware of the legal duties that could come with their position. Directors of nonprofit incorporated board are not usually paid for their work, but that doesn't absolve them from being liable for the decisions and action they make. The information provided is not meant to discourage or intimidate individuals from getting involved in non-for-profit, but rather to assist you. The board, the duty of diligence also referred to fiduciary duty, to act in good faith and in the best interest of the organization through such action as staying informed by reading minutes, agenda, and support material, attending meeting regularly, and voting on issues brought before the board, knowledgeable about the policies and the operations. The duty of loyalty, to place the interests of the organization first through such actions as avoiding and or declaring conflicts of interest, representing the organization in a positive manner, and respecting confidentiality. The duty of management, to act and make decisions in line with the governing policy and bylaw of the organization through such action as understanding the scope of authority for staff and directors, regular reviewing bylaws and policies, ensuring legal requirements related to governance, incorporation, etc. are met, ensuring meetings are held undocumented with minutes, understanding the requirements of laws and standards relating to the clients the organization serve. Financial and human resource management. The issue of risk management is complicated and reach beyond the scope of governance and this training. But there are some key areas that directors will want to be informed about pertaining to risk management and financial and human resources. In relation to human resource management, board members should be knowledgeable about employment insurance, income tax laws, payroll-related standards and regulation, payroll, workplace safety, and liability. Okay, so I am going to wrap up here so you can ask me, we can discuss what we learned today. If there's any questions, please let me know. Do we have questions? Do we have any?
Okay, Emeka, go ahead.
I don't have any question.
Okay, okay.
Was I that clear?
Guys, do we have a question? I think the information is big. So, Ms. Anne, one of the things we are doing here is we are having a little booklet of the teaching. A booklet of the teaching. So all the people that conducted the training, so we have a little booklet that will be shared to the board members, so we can read it and on, and then have, you know, I know you are accessible at any time that we can come back to you to ask some questions, because the information is much detailed, and it's important, it's imperative for the organization to move forward. And you have touched the width and breadth of the organization. I think that's what we need. If you would, we will appreciate if you send to us your template, and with your authorization, we're going to do some a booklet that will be shared to staff and board members. So we have that booklet, we review it, we see it every day, and then we can, you know, come and call you for questions if needed, And then it becomes a platform, like you rightly said, we need to know all the above. We need to know our responsibilities. We need to know, the legal aspect of it and the risk involved to what we are doing. I think it's part of the business, and it's good that you brought it to light. It's very, very, very good. And that will help us to be more efficient and more productive in so many areas, because information is power and also knowledge is power. So I really, really love the training. I also enjoyed the far you've gone, because that's the key point of telling us what we need to know. It comes with risk, which is very, very important for us to know that. And then the efficiency of the board helps the organization to move forward. So I don't know if you have any question to ask. So I asked if we will send it to us. We have a booklet, and we'll say that it's presented by you on top of, with your name there. If you give us the authorization, then we have the booklet as we will compile all the training we have done last year and this one today. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Francis. And thank you for the opportunity to be a part of your training today. As I said before, I've worked with a number of non-for-profit organizations, so I've seen firsthand the highs and the lows of being a director of a non-for-profit organization. It's a very noble position, and it is very kind of all the board members and the staff here to give of themselves to the betterment of our community. I will be more than happy to forward my information to you. And if you have any questions in the future, feel free to reach out to me. I have watched Youth Now on Track grow over the years. I have been an active participant with Youth Now on Track from the infancy stage until where Youth Now on Track is at a point where Youth Now on Track is.
Not only participant, also a donor. You always, you're one of the biggest donor we have. It's not just being participant, also a funder to what YNOT is doing. And we do appreciate that from our heart. When you say participation, it may limit it. Even to the dinner this year, last year, November, you paid for 2 individuals to come, which you didn't come. So you're always there donating to the cause.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Francis. And thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your training, and feel free to reach out to me if there's any further questions and concern. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's appreciate her. I don't know who is there. They can't there. Please, you want to say a word on behalf of the board to Miss Anne, please.
Hello, Eva. Thank you very much for your presentation. And as Pastor Francis mentioned, if you can kindly send your template, because the information, what you just shared, it's so what we need. It's so together that it will help us again to move Youth Now on Track in a positive way going forward. So on behalf of Youth Now on Track, the board, the directors, we want to thank you very much for your valuable time and the information that you share. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your training, and happy Family Day when it comes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, having that, we'll jump into the next training. I know we have 1 hour each, and we'll be rounding it up even before our time. So after Madam Bridget, then Eva will take the whole. If Eva want to finish at 5, I don't have problem, I'm here. If you want to finish at 6 p.m., if you want to go for 2 minutes. So I will.
Thank you. You said it, Pastor Fred. I'm not saying you know how I am. I'm always in a rush. Time is money. I'm not staying. I love you guys, but I'm not staying till 6 p.m. I have things to. We all have things to do, Pastor.
I will quickly bring Madam Bridget. So Madam Bridget, as soon as you can, then we can introduce Eva. So we go from there. That helps us to live in time. I know Monday is important or tomorrow is important. We have children, we have all to take care of. Madam Bridget, let's put a hand for her. Great woman.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, thanks. Before I begin, I want to thank all the previous presenters because they've done a fine job. This section will take off from the last bit of what Una was talking about. Before I do that also, I want to ask whether anybody here has responsibility for putting Black History Month in February. Anybody? Okay, that's my answer. All yes. Right. So this, I don't know why this is like this. Let me adjust the view a bit because I don't like this view. No, it's not adjusting. Okay, let's go on. We are going to cover from land acknowledgement to compliance to question period. So these are the areas we're going to cover, and it's called Code of Business Conduct, which Una touched on at towards the ending of her presentation. For myself, I studied public policy and public administration, specializing in organizational behavior. In the corporate world, I've worked for organizations that had me do Code of Business Conduct booklet. And I've also worked for the 3 partner agencies whereby I coordinated the operation of 3 organizations to minimize costs and in their operations. So for Code of Business Conduct is what I'm very familiar with. And I think it's very, very important, especially if your organization is growing. It is a good guidepost to go along with and groom new entrants into the organization. So without further ado, we're going to acknowledge the land we stand on. Oh no, this view, I can't read it. Okay, everybody can read it for themselves. It's an honor and a privilege. Land acknowledgement for Toronto. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabes, the Chippewas, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. Now home to many diverse First Nations, the Inuit and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. So what is Code of Business Conduct? If you guys will bear with me, the view I have is not allowing me to see what I have there. I need to adjust it. Can the technician adjust this view for all of us?
I think we can adjust individually on our own screens by going to options.
I can't seem to adjust mine.
If you go to options, then you can choose a larger view, like the 150 instead of 100, because what you have is 100 and it doesn't show.
Options, where is the options
button? Up there at the top.
At the top, there's pause share.
Yes, next to, like it says here, you are viewing Bridget Ubochi's screen. Beside that, you have view options. And if you click, there is that drop down that gives you zoom ratio at the very top. I chose 150 so I can see you have up to 200, 300%.
No, I can't even see what you're talking about, truly.
Okay. I think individuals can adjust for themselves on their screens.
All right. No, not that one. Okay, let's see. New participants, pause.
Try slideshow. It said try slideshow.
Slideshow.
Which is on top there.
Remote control.
Slideshow.
No, I don't have a thing called slideshow.
Okay.
At your PowerPoint banner, you can
go to that option before you do it.
Okay. Okay, let me see this view. Yeah, I can adjust the view here. Let me see. Gallery.
That won't do it. If you go to your PowerPoint,
yes,
slideshow, then you can choose slideshow.
Okay.
And that will keep changing and it will give you
slideshow. Okay.
Yes, in PowerPoint.
Okay, I'm in PowerPoint and I'm in slideshow.
Then share screen so that we can see your slides.
No, I can't share the screen here. Oops, okay. That's why I like to have some other person do this with me. So. Okay, let's continue what we were doing.
I go ahead with what you have. So,
full screen.
And guys, I want to remind you that I have 6 people working here. That's why I'm been going through and through. I have 6 furnitures, fixing the furnitures here. So I'm managing.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know that. Yeah.
I have 6 people working here.
All right, I will be reading from this area here. Okay, what is Code of Business Conduct? Is basically an ethical signpost for whoever is involved in YNOT. The board of directors, the staff, and everyone else. What YNOT expects of you and everyone else is strict compliance and respect for the code. YNOT expects its employees, regardless of that's better. All right. Regardless of affiliation, to conduct themselves in accordance with the code, and it will hold employees accountable for their conduct. Those who do not comply may be subject to disciplinary action up to and including dismissal or legal action. These standards of conduct apply to every part of the organization. Parallel expectations and associated consequences apply to agents, representatives, consultants, contractors, and collaborators. Please take the time to read the code and keep it where you can refer to it as often as you need. It is your how-to manual for Code of Business Conduct. Is everybody hearing me? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, because I wasn't sure.
Yes, Madam Bridget.
Okay, good. Our principles, integrity, excellence, and sensitivity constitute our ethical signposts for responsible citizenship. These translate to service and business conducts that make for successful individuals and a successful organization. Integrity. Avoid conflicts of interest. Do all you have agreed to do. Rules, regulations, laws, statutes, and contractual obligations to observe. Never share sensitive or confidential information without permission of its owner. Never engage in practices that will minimize the openness and fairness of the organization in its competition. Protect the organization's assets and use them wisely. Excellence. Commit to provide customers and associates with the best possible value and service. Strive for continuous performance improvement, skills training, upgrading, and development of talents. And when you're working with other agencies, to collaborate nicely with their colleagues and make sure they understand the YNOT Code of Business Conduct. So what comprises, when we talk about citizenship, we're talking about support, deliver, protect, treat. So we support the social and cultural fabric of the communities where we work, live, and serve. Deliver services in an environmentally responsible manner. Protect the health and safety of fellow employees, contractors, and public. Treat fellow employees and all others with respect and dignity. The standards of business. This section describes the standards of business conduct that YNOT expects from every employee at every level of responsibility. That includes the board, the employees, and the non-employees like contractors, deliverers, suppliers, and so on. The standards apply to all YNOT employees to the extent possible. Health and safety, how do we protect ourselves, our co-workers, and the organization? We conduct business in a way that most effectively protects the safety and health of our employees, contractors, and the public. We create and maintain a safe and healthy workplace. We comply with all regulatory and safety requirements. And that includes sustainable development. Commit to becoming a sustainable organization, balancing community growth, social responsibility, and environmental leadership. Meet all legislative and voluntary environmental regulations with the objective of moving beyond compliance as our funding capacity permits. Relationships. When we're providing service to users, we do it with high reliability. Reliable information that they need to make informed decisions. We treat service users courteously because as a community organization, we serve people that are in need or people that need information, people that need various things. The key here is to bring people along, don't look down on them, just dialogue in order to find out what the real needs are. Because sometimes people call and come in and they're testing the waters. They want to know, you know, is this place a good place for me? It's your openness as staff, as an associate, as a board member, to lend an ear to someone in need that will determine how far that relationship will go and how trusting that relationship will become. We value diversity at YNOT because diversity is strength. Regardless of the background, strive to create a workforce that reflects the diverse population of the communities we serve. We work with our colleagues and deal with issues together, sourcing each one's opinion, and from there we come up with the best possible solutions or help we can offer to our people. We do not discriminate in hiring and employment on the grounds of any prohibited laws. Race, ancestry, color, place, sexual orientation, age, marital status, family status, disability, creed, religion, and so on. Harassment and workplace violence. This is a big issue, not just in community organizations, but everywhere, even bigger corporate private organizations. The need to treat all employees and persons with whom we do business with dignity and respect. Do not, as a leader in the community, we must not tolerate personal harassment, including behaviors that demeans, threatens, or humiliates a person or a group of people. Sexual, racial, or other harassments based on prohibited grounds. Comments or conducts that ridicule or disparage a group of employees or persons with whom we do business, even if they are not directed at a particular individual. Abusive relationships, threatening, intimidating, or violent acts directed at an employee or anyone else for that matter. An employee meets when carrying out the business, his or her responsibilities. So we have to watch out. There are all kinds of ways that people will talk to other people and might come out as demeaning. We have to really guard what we say. The purpose here is to facilitate recognition of proper responses to issues governed by the code. In this section, we are looking at one of the biggest and most complex areas of the code of business conduct, namely the conflict of interest. It is a very large topic, and we're going to break it down into various areas of operation that we do. We have the purchasing, supplies, business and gifts, hospitality, outside business activities, relationships with non-profit and professional organizations, political participation. I think my colleagues earlier mentioned a little bit on that. Proper use of assets, business expenses, and accounting. So let's start. Definition. You are in conflict of interest in any situation where your personal interest interferes, appears to interfere, or could protect, or could potentially interfere in any way with the interests of YNOT. Okay. Here are some general guidelines, really. Base any business decision made on merit and strictly in the best interest of YNOT. Therefore, derive no personal benefit, whether direct or indirect, as a result of reaching business decisions on behalf of the organization. There are some more pointers here. Avoid any situation that creates or even appear to create a conflict of interest. We talked about that already. To not take part in or in any way to influence any decision that might result in a financial or other advantage for yourself, family, and members. Or friends. Therefore, if you are an incoming employee, a board of director, or even an existing one, and you go through what we are doing today, or maybe in your own spare time, whatever, and you think, well, you know, I wonder whether this area that I'm delving into conflicts. Always ask questions. My people have a saying that he who asks questions never miss the way. So ask questions, because there are situations that may look like they are okay, but they're not. So if you are in doubt about any situation, this thing is giving me trouble. You need to consult your manager or your chief ethics officer for the organization. Here are some areas. These specific areas: accepting gifts and or hospitality that may compromise or appear to compromise your ability to make fair, objective business decisions. However, on occasion, it may be acceptable to give or receive a business-related gift or hospitality when there is a business benefit to do so. Employees must consult their manager for advice on the appropriateness of accepting or offering gifts and or hospitality. An essential criteria is whether or not you would offer a similar gift or hospitality to this business associate. In other words, is there a reciprocity implied in the gift you're getting? Is the person expecting you to give him preferential treatment for a contract that is up for bids? Things like that. Gifts having a monetary value, such as cash, gift certificate, loans, services, discounts, are not permitted. Gifts such as unsolicited advertising, mementos of nominal value would usually be acceptable. These requirements do not change during traditional gift-giving seasons. Depending on the circumstances, gifts should be returned with the understanding and clarification of our policy, or suitably described in the community, distributed in the community, sorry. So what does that mean? It means that you're going to look at the code we have, you're going to look at the policies, you're going to see whether this is going to compromise your action, your work, and your service at the community organization, which is YNOT. Okay, here it specifies. Is there a question? No? The term gift and hospitality includes such items as meals, beverages, invitations to social events, recreational outings, accommodation, and travel. Before you offer or accept anything, ask yourself, what will be the business benefit to YNOT? Is the value and the reason for the gift or hospitality appropriate considering the situation, the people involved, your role or function within YNOT? Will you be reciprocating the gift or hospitality? Could it compromise or appear to compromise your ability to make a fair, objective business decision? Would you be uncomfortable? This is really key. In discussing it with your manager your peers or your family. This will be a big key for you. If you're going to be uncomfortable about that, then this is a no-no. Is it compatible with the ethical and accepted business practice? Is it infrequent? So these are the kind of questions one needs to ask oneself when confronted with a situation like that, so as not to trample on the code. These are the ones they call never, never, never offer. So the never offer means don't offer any form of bribe or kickback, gift, gratuity, entertainment, hospitality, or benefit that may compromise or appear to compromise the ability to make objective and fair business decisions. When you're serving an organization as a director, because we're all part of a community building minded people, but you have to be very cognizant of the fact that you don't rob Peter to pay Paul kind of thing. You may not serve as a director or officer of any organization that supplies goods and services to YNOT, buys goods or services from YNOT, or competes with YNOT. Because there's always an exception here. Where is my mouse? Any exceptions to this must have the approval of the senior executive in your organization or your board of directors. Now, coming over to the investment aspect of the code. If you invest directly or indirectly in any company that competes with or sells goods and services to YNOT, you may be in conflict. This will include having control or direction over the investment. Say you're not part of that organization, but you are a director or you make a decision on what goes on there. If you'll be in conflict if you're directing how they are spending their money, how they are bidding for goods at YNOT, or how YNOT is bidding for goods at that. At that point, a wise person will declare themselves out of the particular committee that's going to make a decision. However, there is also what is called the 5% rule that the government recognizes and big organizations recognize it. And how it works is like this. Continuing here. The 5% limit. It says in general, you may not own or control directly or indirectly 5% or more of the shares of such a company. It is your responsibility to notify your manager and the chief ethics officer or your board of directors prior to exceeding the 5% limit. When your shares or financial interests are less than 5%, but could be perceived as a conflict of interest, then any holdings that exceed that limit may be approved. This is here, let me clarify this a bit, it looks a little convoluted. This means that up to 5%, you cannot own or control up to 5% of a company that is doing something with YNOT. But if the perception is that that company perhaps is growing and your 5% can exceed, can go over in the future, that is when you need permission to be able to participate, either from your boss or from the chief ethics officer. working for another organization, I mentioned this a little bit, we all have a right to choose where to spend our time. If you're working part-time at YNOT or working full-time at YNOT, but you're a community-minded person, you want to help other organizations grow in the community, you can do so, but the work must not conflict or appear to conflict or potentially conflict with your duty to YNOT, nor with your ability to perform the duties you have at YNOT. These are more of those. So you go ahead and work with other nonprofit organizations. How does that work? Sorry. Because we are community-minded people, we like to help our organizations in our community. You must get some approval in the use of your time or assets to perform services for a community organization. If you can act as a spokesperson for an organization, make it clear that you are speaking for the organization or for yourself and not as a spokesperson that represents YNOT. Before you become a spokesperson that represents YNOT, this is something that has to be approved by the board, who is a spokesperson for the board. I think I mentioned this in the presentation I did last time. There is a need because human beings as we are, we could go out in the public or in another forum and start to talk about what happens at YNOT without clarifying that we're not speaking on behalf of YNOT. This is not YNOT's opinion. You have to put that disclaimer, because if you don't put that disclaimer, you are putting YNOT in jeopardy, depending on what it is you're talking about. So it is important to declare yourself and who you're talking on behalf of, wherever you are in a public forum. And it is also important for the board of directors and even the staff in the office to know who to call. If an organization calls and says, well, I want to know what your mission is and I want to know what you did in the last year or so and so. Hold on, sir, I'll get you somebody. You get the person that is officially recognized, officially appointed by YNOT to speak on its behalf. You can't just start there and bring up your book and read out the rules for them. Don't do that. That's not a proper way to grow a company. Now, we go now onto the political forum. If somebody wants to do political participation, is a legitimate in our country. This is a democracy. So as a private citizen, you may participate in all levels of political activities in non-working hours, provided these activities do not interfere or conflict with your duties and obligations as an employee or an associate of YNOT. Your participation must be kept strictly separate from your association with YNOT. Prior to declaring your candidacy in a federal, provincial, or municipal election, you must apply for a leave of absence without pay. YNOT supplies, facilities, tools, or other business assets, such as network assets, must not be used to support political activities. Okay. And that dovetails into what we call in this presentation sensitive documents, sensitive discussions, sensitive anything, and we'll go straight to that. That means something that's proprietary, in other words, something that belongs to YNOT, whether it's intellectual or material. Personal and trusted, something personal and trusted upon one or all of us, our staff, employees, volunteers, and services. What is that? Things like job application, your date of birth, your personal data that the organization collects upon engaging you. Those are not things you should share. They are considered sensitive information. Technical. YNOT has a variety of technical skills, technical know-hows, and technical stuff that they do. As not for you to share with outsiders. Business, how they do business, it's none of your business to share it unless you're officially authorized to do that. Financial, same thing. You see a budget lying around, the manager has probably forgotten it on his desk or something like that. You don't go snooping around or taking it to share with whomever, because these are considered sensitive information. You are in a position of trust once you are there working or directing or being whatever you are to YNOT, you're in a position of trust. And that is very important in the life of the organization. Sensitive information continued. Such information owned by YNOT has not been entrusted to us and must be kept confidential and for the following reasons. I think I've covered that somewhat, but it bears repeating here: to preserve the individual privacy or safety of customers and employees, to preserve public safety, to preserve the competitive advantage or commercial interests of or impart the whole of the organization, to comply with legal, regulatory, or contractual obligations, to safeguard assets. Okay, we go back. Sensitive information continues. Given the nature of the services we provide and population we serve, it is required of all of us, employees, directors, service providers, volunteers, to heighten the awareness about the protection of sensitive confidential information. And this includes information that must remain in confidence. Ask your manager when you are in doubt. Do not disclose sensitive information except as required by the law to anyone outside to one to which the information is entrusted, including family and friends. In other words, you don't discuss what happens there with family and friends because it will get out. This applies even after you have left the organization. Some people have a moratorium of, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. For example, government, I think if you have government papers, you're supposed to keep them for 7 years. So these are the kind of codes of conduct that one has to be very, very aware of, familiar to, and live by it on a daily basis. And that also maintains the integrity of the individual as well as the community. Do not disclose, protect, advise, follow, and comply. Protect sensitive information against theft, loss, destruction, unauthorized access, or misuse. Advise your manager or supervisor if you are aware of any attempt to obtain sensitive information by unauthorized means or misuse such information. Follow the organization's rules and regulations when gathering, using, and discussing personal information. Comply with organization's policies, standards, and guidelines governing use of email, digital, and IT systems. Those IT assets, digital assets they are called, when storing and transmitting sensitive information. Here's another area where it is easy to make a mistake. When making purchasing decisions, make it honestly and with integrity using such criteria as competitive pricing, quality, quantity, delivery, and service. refuse to make purchasing decisions based on favoritism, prejudice, preferential treatment, or personal gains. Disclose your concerns and refuse involvement in any purchasing decision that could lead to a conflict of interest. Supplies. Treat, inform, expect, ensure, take initiative. Treat suppliers courteously, fairly, and professionally. Inform suppliers about the existence of the Code of Business Conduct and provide access to it so that they know. Expect suppliers to act with integrity, adhere to high standards of ethical behavior and operations in the best interest of YNOT. Ensure that provisions for compliance are built into contracts and other procurement instruments. Take appropriate action to address concerns. Initiate steps to end YNOT's relationship with a supplier if it continues to be unsatisfactory. Now, we move on to proper use of assets. Protect YNOT's assets and use them properly and use them only for the business of YNOT. Protect the organization's assets from theft, destruction, for example, by vandalism or neglect. Protect the organization's intellectual property, such as copyrighted information, trademarks and logos, patents and trade secrets, against loss, infringement, and use them only for YNOT businesses. Do not misuse other organizations' intellectual property entrusted to YNOT. Dispose of items having residual values according to the policy governing disposal of assets of charities organizations. If it's paper, don't just toss them in a recycle bin because they go flying on the streets. If it is furniture or anything like that, you dispose them appropriately by donating them to another charitable organization. Internal or employees that theft will not be, internally or externally, employees, among employees or others, theft is not tolerated, and zero tolerance is strictly adhered to at YNOT. Proper use of assets continues. While systems such as email, internet are intended for business purposes, limited personal use is permissible. Usage must be responsible, limited, and in accordance with YNOT's policies, standards, and procedures. Due to potential activities performed by the company for network management, security investigations, or for monitoring in accordance with YNOT's policies, standards, and procedures governing the usage, privacy cannot be assured, but it is your role as a user or as the employee or associate of YNOT to make sure that assets like this are not exposed to put YNOT in danger. Another area where the code is very specific on is the business expenses. It's saying here, exercise integrity, prudence, and judgment when you incur or approve business expenses. They must be reasonable and necessary for the charitable organization's operations. We know this all too well because when we do reports and evaluations at the end of a project, for example, you have to account for every penny. If you are missing 50 cents, your funder will send you a note or send back the report and said there are 50 cents missing on that budget line, whatever. It could be stationery, it could be, you know, payment you made to a contractor. They will send it back. Meanwhile, it could have been just a mere typo. So that's how important it is to be accountable, to keep all the receipts and log them in the proper way. If you log a receipt you got from hospitality into stationery, it's not going to work because it's not the same. So they're going to send it back. So these are some of the very fine things that happen when we do business expenses. Okay, where's the next slide?
You have 10 minutes, madam.
Yes, I know. I'm good. Accounting, finance, and business reporting. Use YNOT's funds only for lawful and proper purposes in accordance with approved authorities. Handle cash and bank accounts transactions in a manner that avoids any questions of bribery, kickbacks, and other illegal or improper payments. Okay. Ensure that all YNOT's documents accurately and clearly represent relevant facts of the transaction. And okay. Here, oops. Okay, I think we've covered this. Individuals who are aware of conducts or practices that they believe violate YNOT's financial accounting and reporting principles, who have concern regarding questionable accounting, etc., should report it to the Chief Ethics Officer, your Executive Director, and so on, and take it on from there. Fair competition. This is a very important part of what we do to comply with the laws of governing competition. There is a website where you could go to find out more about fair competition. So I'm not going to spend time on this one. If you're conducting international business, all of the above apply. 15. YNOT is determined to be an ethical organization. Our ethical principles of integrity, excellence, and citizenship are essential elements of our business success. All employees, contractors must complete any required training on the code. Training on the code must be included in the orientation program for new employees. Board members are required to complete an electronic sign-off statement on an annual basis. This statement will acknowledge that they have read and shall comply with YNOT's Code of Business Conduct. Okay, and I didn't mention, I think I mentioned it somewhere, there is a form also where one can declare their conflict of interest. Or if they suspect they may have a conflict of interest before joining the organization, you make that declaration. It's up to the board to look at it and see whether this is something that will be harmful or something that they can keep or something that they will not keep. In other words, the person may not qualify. So those are some of the pointers in business conflict of interest. So with that, I would say, any questions? I'm going to stop screen sharing now. Any questions?
Any questions, guys? So I think it's very, very comprehensive, and it's very, very, very important that we know the above. Especially there are, that's why, we go to bring out the booklet for us to have time to review it from time to time and to understand what it means. he thought about speaking on behalf of the organization. So that's very, very, very important. And this is to avoid misinformation and also giving wrong information when it has to do with a whole lot of things. It does happen in organizations. And also sensitive information should be, every organization, the capability of the organization to function very well is to be able to get the necessary information. And sometimes when you are speaking on your behalf, you may not have every information related to that. And when it comes to the office here, we work differently. There are emails that will come to the staff here. I won't attend to that email. Or when the person is calling, I won't attend to that because I don't know specifically what they discussed and what the issue is in order to avoid complicating the matter. So when we are giving out the information as it has to do with organization and program and services, the accuracy is important. And that the accuracy is the dignities, the credibility of the organization. And when the credibility is not there, the organization is no longer there. So, and sharing the information properly is important. When you don't know it, as Madam Bridget said, you can contact the office or you can ask before you going ahead. We produce the booklet for us to have with us and able to, read it from time to time to understand our responsibilities here. I don't know if anybody has question before we jump to the next one.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to know what would your advice, I'm talking to Madam Bridget now, what would your advice be where an organization does not have a position like the chief ethics officer for purposes of ensuring this compliance with some of these requirements? Whom do you think the organization should designate as a responsible officer for that?
I think that is a decision that the board needs to make. The person that can act, because YNOT is a growing organization, is not a huge organization. Like the first place where I did the code of business conduct is an organization that employed over 50,000 people. And so there is a department actually for ethics. Among the human resources department. So this kind of thing is decided by the board based on the knowledge of the organization by the individual that will be so designated. The person has to thoroughly know the organization. So you are looking at your members and making that decision. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, more questions? Okay, if there's no more questions.
Just clarification. Yes. Madam Bridget, thank you very much for the presentation. I noticed that in your presentation, you didn't say anything about volunteers, but we know that volunteers are the backbone of YNOT. Do this, all these things apply to volunteers too? Because Pastor Francis usually talks about volunteers, everybody at YNOT as staff. So this would apply to the volunteers as well, right?
Yeah, at the beginning, I believe it's somewhere there at the beginning. Maybe I skipped it through without actually talking, voicing it. But yeah, board of directors, volunteers, people that do business with YNOT. Yes, it includes volunteers. And the volunteer number 1 is yours truly. So that applies to me too. Okay, so yeah, it does. So please, if you have any questions, you can get it to me through Pastor Francis if you don't have my direct contact. I have to go to another meeting that starts at approximately 1 o'clock, another Zoom workshop. So I am very thankful, very grateful for this opportunity to bring this to my own people and to share it and to generate a discussion. I mean, all of these things, nothing is written in stone except things that are government regulations. We cannot skate around that, but it is a start. So I thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I thank my previous colleagues. Of the presentations they made was quite informative, and I'll say have a wonderful day and a great family weekend. And please, if you have any hand in putting Black History Month in February, try to get it changed to June or July.
Okay, so thank you very much, Madam Bridget.
Okay.
We're very, very appreciative of your presentation. So thank you so much. So Eva is one of us, and Eva was with TD Bank, as I said earlier. It's very big support and addition to YNOT program and services, especially to the board of directors, came with a whole lot of experience managing business at TD Bank and one of the top staff there. So we're honored to have her in our board of directors, as is being helpful out there to give us the necessary information that will help us to do well, and also use her influence in the community to able to create awareness of why not here and there. So join me to welcome Eva. Eva, thank you so much for agreeing to help us, and everything is for you. God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor Francis. I am just going to share what I prepared. It's not as formal and well put together as some of the other presenters. So I have to say, a job well done with the other presenters. Instead of just going through a handout, I know that last time we talked a little bit about golden rules for nonprofit. I'll be honest with you, when I get asked at TD Bank to take part in any type of nonprofit, a lot of it is fundraising, either asking staff, asking customers, being involved with YNOT on a board of directors level. Again, we've organized, with the Spanish language community, the car washes, bazaars, picnics. But this is really the first time that I've been involved on the financial side of things in a non-for-profit. So I'm learning as well. We all are. A lot of work now, even within the meetings, to try to put things together for the current budget, and I appreciate everyone's patience and assistance in that. So just to touch a little bit, instead of just reading it out, I'd like to talk about it, each point, and how it applies to YNOT in this particular case. Financial responsibility, I think that between Anne and Bridget and Sandra, we all know that as a non-for-profit, there is a financial responsibility. Sometimes you hear so many things in the news of people posing as a fake charity, or there's fraud and they say they're raising money for such and such cause. And then sometimes that can put kind of a bad taste in people's mouth about even giving to charity. So I think one of the things that sets YNOT apart is people can see a lot of the things that we are doing in the local community, including the summer camp, the dinners, a lot of the other community initiatives that we often get updated, by the office and by Pastor Francis. So we see that the donations are actually going into the hands of the community. Choose items and donate. So this helpability of YNOT, operating reserves. So again, this is better reserved for the financial committee to talk a little bit about, but I know throughout the meetings in the last few months, we've been talking a little bit about where is the money coming from, where is it going, how much are we getting? And a lot of us fail to realize, or we haven't really realized how much work actually goes into organizing these facts and figures and putting it together. But I am confident that, within the next couple of weeks, we're going to get it right. And Pastor Francis will have a wonderful presentation and submission to give to the government. But of course, it's a collaborative effort. It does take a lot of time. We want to make sure that we're not just doing it for the sake of doing it, and we are getting the right facts and figures. So thank you for that. Financial integrity. So this is further to what Bridget and Fletcher and even Sandra was speaking about earlier. There has to be integrity. Without any integrity, that's where you lose trust. And a lot of times obvious a group, they feel that their finances, no matter on board, there's no secrets, there's no you know, gray areas, and that has a lot to do with integrity. Also, even our own personal resources. You know, a lot of us board of directors, we've put our own funds into it, but we don't always need to, you know, tell the greater community how much we've put. But from a board of directors standpoint, at least we can be transparent to say, yes, we've donated. We haven't touched any of the funds ourselves. We're contributing. I know that with the dinner, Sonia also purchased the prizes and things like that. So we're all aware that we all play a very important part in financial responsibility. I'll also stop me if you have any questions or if you want to throw something into the mix here. Responding to financial problems. So it's come to light this morning based on our discussion with Sandra that our events have to be profitable. There can't be deficits. And I think this year, God willing, that things with COVID will change significantly. I think we're going to be better prepared for the dinner. I think that we're going to come together and come up with some more maybe cost-effective fundraising that we can do, things that are not going to cost so much money. Now we know what to do in the future and what we're going to do differently this year, along with kind of getting started and getting organized a little bit more early. We can't blame COVID 100%. Sometimes it has to do with, you know, restrictions. Some of it had to do with vaccination. Some people couldn't attend. Well, maybe if we do something in a location that won't require something like that, we might get a little bit more success. So now we know what happened last year and we can take those next times for this year. Okay. And also just the ability to gather. I mean, that's a big obstacle in itself. Interdependence. Okay. So as we know, interdependence is not just on the greater community, but also on each other. So over the last few meetings, we've now realized that, you know, if there is a disconnect, let's say between the finance committee and the fundraising committee, we're going to come together. We've set timelines. And once we have those figures, we're going to make the appropriate adjustments and move forward. And I'm confident that we'll get that done. Budgeting. Okay. So further to getting everything organized for this year. We do need to know what's coming in, what's going out. If we do choose to do maybe some warmer weather events, we'll need to know, you know, what do we expect to spend? Where are we going to advertise? Where do we plan on hosting? Maybe we can find some locations that are a little bit more affordable. Who's going to give what? And I think that, you know, aside from doing this in the meetings, we definitely have to leverage the WhatsApp group as well. Sometimes we feel shy about, you know, stating something or making a suggestion, but in my experience with some other groups and with some other even church and cultural things that I'm involved in, a lot of people just shoot ideas out there. So we definitely need to leverage that a little bit more and pipe up. Worst case scenario is someone doesn't like the idea, right? But at least we're all contributing. Budgeting ties into program costs. Obviously, it sounds like there is going to be some funds coming in from the government and those have to be properly allocated. We are working with Pastor Francis, even though he is not part of the finance committee, and I know that we lean on him a lot for direction. But we do want to know what things are going to cost. The cost of everything has gone up. So we just want to make sure that we're prepared and we're not, you know, kind of scrambling at the last minute. And I know that I'm confident that this year is definitely going to be different. I'm optimistic that it's going to be a much better and more successful year for YNOT in general. And after what everybody's been through just in their personal lives and family lives, I think that it's a message for all of us to kind of come together and give time and money and resources to the causes that mean the most to us. Diverse funding sources. So again, to touch on what was spoken about earlier in the presentations, it's wonderful that the board of directors, you know, have given what they've given, and also the local community, friends and family, but we've got to maybe start to look into different areas. Who else can give us money? I know myself, I've tried to appeal to the TD for 2 different community initiatives. One time it was about a small thing saying, no, this time we're not giving to anything that's involved with youth. Then another time they chose another charity, but rest assured that anytime there is any kind of fundraising initiative or corporate grants that they're giving out, I'm always putting YNOT's name at the front of the list. And I know that there's some cool stuff coming down the chain in the springtime. So I really hope that we can see YNOT's name highlighted for some of the community initiatives that TD does give to. You know, you knock on a door and sometimes they don't answer. This time they're gonna answer, right? So I'm confident that with enough knocking, we will get the right donations, what we need. And it can come from different sources. Further to that, infrastructure expenses. So nonprofits are required to account for functional expenses, overhead. Any organization that you can think of does have overhead, okay? And that's something that ties into budget and ensuring that there's transparency there, along with cash flow. I'm proud to say that I do a lot of banking for YNOT. I know that Pastor Francis mentioned earlier about the red carpet service. Of course, anytime he shows up at the door, you know, I'll stop everything to help. And I'm committed to doing that also for this fiscal year as well. I think it's important to establish those connections with your financial professional. Somebody even like Ann Fletcher, I know she's not on the call anymore, but we've got a lot of clients at the bank that use her services, and she does a wonderful job. So it's just getting to know the professionals, leveraging them, and asking questions. So if there's ever any questions about finance, even on the personal side, do reach out. And cash flow is a very important part of any organization, and managing it and where it's going to be allocated. Financial information. To be an effective leader, encourage everyone to develop financial literacy. So this is something that I've kind of taken on as an initiative in my career with different ethnic groups, churches. We've done some great stuff at the libraries over the years when, you know, prior to COVID, when everybody would come out on a Saturday morning, we'd have, you know, coffee and cookies set up, and people would come and they could just ask any kind of financial question, bank related. And I wasn't really there as a representative of TD. If these folks were banking with any other bank, that's fine. I don't care who you bank with. Of course, I prefer that you all bank with TD, but if you have your own bank already, it was more a question and answer session. And we've done one online. I want to say it was last year or the year before, where we had a good turnout. So I'm happy that, you know, if we go ahead and do something like that this year, definitely let me know and I'll be happy to participate, because financial literacy is a big area in Canada overall, especially our local community where we are. A lot of people, if they don't have the right information, unfortunately, they're not going to make the right financial decisions. And sometimes people are embarrassed to ask certain questions, or they feel that they're asking a stupid question. And again, as a financial representative, I always say there is no such thing as a stupid question. It's better that you ask, because the repercussions are a lot more serious if you don't turn around and ask the question. It can affect you, your family, your children. A lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about, you know, banking and credit cards, lines of credits, retirement plans. So definitely, if we can have another event where people come and ask, whether it's in person or online, I'd be happy to help organize that. And I think that the main thing is that folks get the right financial information, especially with the ever-changing things that are going on in our country. So that is basically it. I know that we're going to meet again on through Zoom there to discuss the budget more in detail, and that the fundraising group is going to get back to us. And that's pretty much about it. I don't know if anyone has any questions. I know that this is very self-explanatory. It's been an information overload today, but it's all very valuable, and I'll be sharing the information for the booklet as well. And that's pretty much all I have to say for now.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you so much. I love your own than any other person. So it's direct to the point, and it gives me a chance too. So, and I think so many other people are happy to have it short and direct to the point. So thank you very much. So thank you so much. We do appreciate you. Do appreciate the good job you are doing in the community, supporting. You know, you have good understanding of the community we serve and what goes within, and that helps you to be able to be part of it in supporting the community, because when you have the good knowledge, it helps a lot. It helps a lot. So that's what it is. And that's why I focus on the training, because again, education, information is power, and the knowledge is power too. For us to do well, we need the training. For us to function better as an organization and as people, we need other proof information to do well. So thank you once again. So when you set your things ready, you can send it to us. We will put it in the booklet, as I said, and we can be going through it over and over again, and that will be awesome. So I don't know if anybody has something to say. Before that, they are fixing the furniture in the office today. We have a couple of people working there. So when you have chance, you can stop by to see the great work they are doing there. And things are working. We are trying to put everything together, hoping that by the end of the month, we're able to come to a certain level. So I encourage the board members to stop by to see what we are doing, and it's part of the teamwork. And also I encourage that mutual understanding between the people that work from the office and also to the board. I know the core part of our staff here is volunteers, but the good thing, all of them are doing a great job. You know, they don't take it as volunteer, because some of them are here. They're supposed to finish 5 o'clock. Some of them are here 8 p.m. Some of them are here 9 p.m. every day because of the load of the work. I do appreciate them. Without them, it will be really, really hard in this time to be able to push forward. I know I have a good number of them here left, from Imede to Cassandra to Maggie. So Maggie come all the way from Brampton. Always, she's here very late. Sometimes I've been encouraging her to go home. And she said, Francis, I got to finish my responsibilities. So all of you here, Eva, Sonia, Emeka, all the Mekas here, all the barristers here, Dr. Hansford, the board chair, all of you, I want to thank you. Thank you. Without you guys, there'd be nothing like training. These people can't just come and speak to empty place. It's because of all of us that there is training. So thank you. Anything you need advice, always call us. If you want to drop by, always drop by. It takes us, to build YNOT. It's not one person. So thank you very much. If you have something to say or to comment as we begin to round up.
Thank you, everybody, for the information. It was very informative, and I appreciate everybody's expertise. I hope that we can get together and have an event where, we've got legal professionals, tax professionals, non-for-profit professionals. So definitely, if there's some sort of event going forward, that would be wonderful, where we can have question and answer. It may be a little bit more informal as well, so that, the public can be engaged. So just a suggestion. And I hope you have a wonderful family day.
Thank you very much.
You as well. I just wanted to say thank you to all the presenters. Eva, you're the only one that's here. You guys gave great information. I think the booklet that's going to be created is going to be very informative. And I think it's going to be a guidebook, especially for the board, just in highlighting our responsibilities and how to keep moving forward. So today was a great meeting and training, and thank you to everyone for coming.
So Francis, you said the booklet will be for the entire capacity building program, right, from last year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it should be all the training we have done, both on volunteerism and staff. So it will be it's everything, all the training we have done. So I know you and Paul have done a couple of training, which I will request down the line to put them together. Then we can send it to printer, and then we have it officially. We have some paper here, and we'll have it here. Every staff will have it, all the board members will also have it. So we go from there. And that's, you know, having a history, I believe in history. You know, I don't believe that such training will just come and, you know, go that way. So we got to have it, and then we got to go back to it from time to time. It will help us to move forward. Because if we don't keep the history, we lose them. So we want us to keep them. We want us to work with them. We want to quote them. You know, we want to quote them as we have in our meeting. We want to hold ourselves responsible if not done. And that's the sense of the capacity building. We want to hold ourselves responsible. We want to hold the board responsible. We want to hold the staff responsible. So that's why everybody's involved in the training. So for us to hold you responsible is to have evidence to hold you responsible. So that gives us a good evidence when we have the booklet.
Thank you.
Any other individual?
And thank you, Madam Eva, for the presentation on finances. I'm looking forward to the activities of financial responsibility activities that will be organized, so I could take part and invite other people to participate too. Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, I know nobody wants to go, but we will go.
Pastor Francis, one more thing. I think I want to thank all the speakers in everything. They've definitely dedicated their time, and also the board of directors. They've always been supporting YNOT from the beginning till the end. And it's that spirit that has united us all here and put us here to be able to be dedicated to serve the community. There's one point that I think three speakers emphasized in terms of the board of directors and plus the teams to be able to, in terms of the donations. I won't speak much about the donations. I'll speak much about helping in the participation on the programs. We do have a program on the 23rd of February for the mental health. As some of the speakers said that the board of directors should bring five people. I just urge everyone to try bring 5 people to that particular mental health program that we're having on the 23rd. And if we do start that, it means charity begins at home. So all of us are challenged to bring five people. And if we have that as a mentality, we will grow. Why not? And we will definitely go to the next level. Thank you very much. Back to you, Pastor Francis.
Thank you very much, Don, for reminding us that we have Dr. Blackwood. Dr. Blackwood comes in television from time to time. He will be helping us with our mentor program on 23rd. So please, I encourage you to join and also ask your friends to join. Dr. Blackwood is a known individual in the community, and it will be a long way for us to be able to benefit from his teaching and his word of experience. He will enjoy it. We are paying him to do this, and we are doing it for the community. We're doing it for good of us that are dealing with mental health. I tell you, a lot of people that come here has mental health. I will tell you what we go through here. So invite your friends, invite your co-workers to be able to join. I have the Zoom at the YNOT board WhatsApp. Please, if you need it in a separate email or something like that, let us know. We'll send it to you. Please, I'm looking forward of seeing you on Zoom on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to see everybody there as Dr. Blackwood presents to us. God bless you again. Enjoy your family day, and I wish you peace. I wish you joy. I wish you the blessings of God. May his peace and grace go with you, all of us, guide us and protect us. So enjoy your day, and God bless. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you all.
Long weekend. Happy Family Day. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Have a great day.
Good night.
Thank you. Happy Family
Have a
Day.
great day. Yeah, happy Family Day.
Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.